Welcome back. In the rush to hook everybody and everything up to the internet over the last 25 years, rural folk and poor folk have generally been left out of the mix. In the case of rural access, it was the same challenges the companies had in even providing basic phone service back in the 1930s. Because it's so capital intensive, the low population density of the countryside made offering affordable service impossible, which often left satellite internet expensive and slow, or God forbid, dial-up internet. You know, what is that? Is that like next to the 8-track? Which is not even compatible with today's devices. After years of talk, the feds have stepped up. Now, this is something near and dear to my heart because I worked in a previous life in the telecommunications industry. And I can tell you that 30 years ago, our state has been talking about doing something like this for 30 years.
I know they're finally putting some money towards it. They've talked about putting some money towards it more recently, like with more urgency ever since COVID forced them to reevaluate, like, hey, these kids are learning from home now. They don't need to be going to the McDonald's parking lot to get internet.
Well, here's here's a little bit of good news. The FCC has a subsidy program called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it can be used for $50 a month discounts for individuals on SNAP or Medicaid, recipients of Pell Grants, and families with children on free and reduced price lunch plans. Low-income households on tribal lands can apply for $75 in monthly broadband subsidies. The program also allows for a one-time $100 subsidy for a laptop or tablet. And this is the good part. The FCC said that 825 broadband providers have agreed to offer the discounts. I didn't even know there were that many.
Yeah,
I was in shock. Wow, that many? If you told me 50, I'd have been impressed. This is part of some of the COVID legislation that's been passed. And honestly, it took the federal government in the late 1930s to bring electricity and phone service to the farm. They did it through a couple of government programs that worked for small phone companies, and that's why in a lot of parts of the United States, the rural service, be it an electric utility or a phone company, is a cooperative because it didn't make economic sense for a company to risk capital because they couldn't get their rate of return. There weren't enough customers. Around here, there are, you get outside of the big cities, if you've got phone service or electric service, it's provided by a cooperative, meaning the customers own the company.
Yeah.
And it's going to take something like that again to get broadband. Absolutely. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad to hear that folks that need this is getting that $50. And I'm glad to hear that the providers are going to honor the discounts and get these people hooked up. Because it's a heck of a way to be poor and rural without access. And in this world, if you're not connected to broadband, you're not connected to anything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just south of Des Moines, one of the biggest city in Iowa. And I had two options to start with. And when it asks you basically, type in your address and here's what we can offer you. One of them said it was like 10 megabytes, like nothing. And so I had one choice. This one choice for what is enough internet for me and my roommate, which is a little more than average. $70 a month, and then a year went by and they tried to jack that up to $120 a month.
Ooh.
This is internet alone. And wow. I talked him down a little bit from that by saying I was going to go somewhere else, which I couldn't. I hope they're not listening, but I couldn't go anywhere else. Luckily, I talked them down, but either way, they're like, well, that's an extra $20 a month we still got out of them. So
wow.
I mean, that's insane. Like over a year, I mean, people can't afford that.
And the only thing in my case at my home, I have 500 meg because I get a subsidy from my landlord. I'm only paying $70 a month.
Man, you get 500. I get 100. I thought that was pretty.
Yeah, and they tell you that really you need a minimum of 300.
Oh wow!
To do anything real. I mean, if you're going to stream, if you're going to game, if you're going to really use it, you need at least 300. And we had to do some tinkering around because of how 5G works and how it works in the network. And I had to Google it to figure out why I was having problems, and then I had to call my provider again because my provider sent somebody out and they were clueless. They didn't know what the problem was. Oh, well, I did the research and I called in, and fortunately I found a technician who says, I know exactly what I need to do. This is how I do it. And he did it, fixed it. It's great for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, fiber. We need more options. I said co-op seems to be one of the better, but then they got to reach out some places. Like my parents are kind of in between two towns, and their one option is just really, really bad. It just does not work very well. I don't know what their deal is. They say they're getting this amount, but they're not getting that much, paying a lot. But then the town next that offers like a co-op type situation just gets to the house next to them, but that's it. And
oh, wow. That's just wrong.
yeah, so they're trying to convince them just to like, hey, can you just come down the road a little? But
yeah.
We don't have options. How do we? I mean,
it's going to take the federal government. No, it's going to take the federal government, just like it did for phone service.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Is
there is no option.
We've let the internet services merge and conglomerate to too many small factors, and
no.
Yes, absolutely.
Not in this case.
Me?
Not in this case.
Oh, you have a joke.
Do you have any idea how capital intensive it is to lay cable?
Yes, sure. But that doesn't mean
so here's my question.
That doesn't mean I should get a choice between two companies. Actually, it's one. I have one company.
And how
I can
are you
go
going to
to
get your investment back?
One company to go to.
If I spend $30,000,
so my city should offer it to me.
Somebody's going to pay that bill, Chase. Who's going to pay it?
Sure, the investment's worth it. The city should pay for it.
Where's the city going to get it? Property taxes. So
if
you're a homeowner, it's okay to put the burden on you in addition to schools, roads, and everything else.
Schools should not be property taxes.
Why?
Schools should not be property taxes because I'm in for paying for the greater good. Everyone should have internet.
That's you. That's
should
great.
Be everybody.
Why are apartment dwellers getting a break then? They're not paying taxes.
If you own property, you don't own the apartment.
So why are they getting a break? Why aren't they paying their fair share?
Because you're owning property. You have equity in that.
Not necessarily.
Most of the wealth in the United States is in property.
And it's been dropping courtesy of the Great Recession and this pandemic.
Most wealth in this country is property.
Here's the deal. The reason why they couldn't do it in the 30s, and in fact a lot of phone companies went broke, is because they couldn't raise the capital to expand the capital base that they needed to spend. So that's why you got consolidation.
So you're pro-monopoly.
In some cases, I am. If you've got that kind of money, you show me.
It needs oversight, so I'd rather have the government at least run it.
Okay, not necessarily run it. I'm for oversight. I'll go there. And rate setting, I'll go there. But when it comes to investment, when it comes to spending billions of dollars, which is why AT&T just sold Time Warner.
And it was a joke. You read about that in depth, right?
Yeah.
They laid off how many people?
Yep.
How many people got screwed?
And it was only 3 years. And they still sold it for $43 billion.
Yeah.
And the stupid thing is, they needed the money because it was ill-advised. They needed the money. Where to put the money? To expand their network. Somebody has to put the investment in. You figure out a way where they can get their investment. If I risk, I'm a retiree, and I buy your bonds for your company, how are you going to protect me because you're taking that money to expand your network? How am I going to make sure you're going to get a return on your money so you can pay those bonds that I just bought? And I'm not rich.
Well, if you're putting that money into my company, you must see a reason to do it.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm more about public goods. I
am too, but we're going to agree to disagree because I think, to be blunt, that in this case, when it comes to investment and return on investment, that there's a lot to be desired. That is why the phone companies couldn't do it in the 30s. That is why electric companies couldn't do it in the 30s.
Didn't we bust up a bunch of the phone companies in the 30s?
No, we didn't. They consolidated in the 30s. Every town had its own phone company at one time. You go around Iowa, you see some of these old buildings, you will see phone company names and electric company names that no longer exist.